Episode 16, The Small Library That Changed My Life. Hello everyone, and welcome back to our A to English podcast. I hope you are having a wonderful day. Thank you for spending your time with me once again. Today's story is called The Small Library That Changed My Life. When people think about changing their lives, they often imagine something big. They think about getting a new job, moving to another country, winning a lot of money, or meeting an important person. But sometimes, a very small place can completely change your future. Today's story is about a small library that taught me some of the biggest lessons of my life. It happened about 1 year ago. One Saturday morning, I woke up earlier than usual. The weather was cool and fresh. The sky was clear, and the sun had just started rising. I had no plans for the day. Instead of staying at home, I decided to take a long walk around my neighborhood. I enjoyed walking early in the morning because the streets were quiet. The air felt fresh. Birds were singing in the trees. People were just beginning their day. As I walked through a street that I had never visited before, I noticed a small building with a simple wooden sign. The sign said, "Community Library." I stopped walking. I had lived in that area for almost 3 years, but I had never noticed the library before. The building looked old. Its walls were painted light brown. There were flowers growing beside the entrance. A small bench stood under a large tree. The place looked peaceful. I became curious. I opened the door and walked inside. The library was much smaller than I expected. There were only a few bookshelves. Some people were reading quietly. An elderly woman was organizing books behind a desk. She smiled warmly when she saw me. "Good morning," she said. "Welcome to our library." "Good morning," I replied. "It is my first time here." "We're happy to have you," she answered. "My name is Mrs. Green. I'm the librarian." She asked if I liked reading. I smiled. "Yes, I've been trying to read more books this year." Her face became brighter. "That's wonderful. Books can become your best teachers." I spent the next hour walking slowly between the shelves. There were books about history, science, travel, languages, business, health, and personal development. Every shelf seemed to invite me to discover something new. Finally, one book caught my attention. Its title was simple, "The Power of Small Habits." I opened the first page. The very first sentence said, "Your future is built by what you do repeatedly." I smiled immediately. That sentence reminded me of everything I had been learning during the past year. I sat down near the window and began reading. The author explained that successful people usually do ordinary things consistently. They read every day. They learn continuously. They exercise regularly. They manage their time carefully. None of those habits seemed extraordinary, but together they created extraordinary lives. As I continued reading, I forgot about time. The library became completely silent. Only the sound of turning pages filled the room. After nearly 2 hours, Mrs. Green walked toward me. She smiled and asked, "Are you enjoying the book?" "Very much," I answered. "I think this book found me at the right time." She laughed softly. "Sometimes we don't choose books. Sometimes books choose us." I liked that idea. Before leaving, I borrowed the book. Mrs. Green handed it to me and said, "I hope to see you again next week." "I'll definitely come back," I replied. As I walked home, I felt excited. It had been a long time since I had discovered a place that inspired me so much. That evening, I continued reading until I finished 3 chapters. Each chapter taught me something practical. Instead of trying to change everything at once, I decided to improve only one small habit each week. The first week, I focused on waking up early. The second week, I reduced the time I spent on social media. The third week, I increased my English practice from 30 minutes to 45 minutes every day. The changes were small, but after only 1 month, I noticed a big difference. I felt more organized. I had more energy. I finished my work faster. I remembered new English words more easily. Most importantly, I felt proud of myself. The following Saturday, I returned to the library. Mrs. Green recognized me immediately. She smiled and said, "I knew you'd come back." I laughed. "I think this place has become one of my favorites." She handed me another book. "This one is about lifelong learning. I think you'll enjoy it." I thanked her. Then I found my favorite seat near the window and started reading once again. Little did I know, that morning I was about to meet someone whose advice would stay with me for many years. Little did I know, that morning I was about to meet someone whose advice would stay with me for many years. While I was reading near the window, an elderly man entered the library carrying a small bag full of books. Mrs. Green greeted him with a smile. "Good morning, Mr. Wilson." He smiled back. "Good morning." After returning his books, he looked around the room and noticed me reading. He walked over slowly and asked, "May I sit here?" "Of course," I replied. He placed his books on the table and sat down beside me. For a few minutes, neither of us spoke. We simply enjoyed the quiet atmosphere of the library. Finally, he looked at the book in my hands and smiled. "That's an excellent choice." It changed the way I think about success. I became curious. "Really?" He nodded. "Many years ago, I believed that successful people were born different. I thought they were simply lucky. But I was wrong." "What changed your mind?" I asked. He leaned back in his chair and began telling me his story. "When I was young, I dreamed of becoming an engineer. I studied hard, but I failed my university entrance exam. I was disappointed. I believed my dream had ended." He paused for a moment. Then he continued, "Instead of giving up, I found a job during the day and studied every evening. It wasn't easy. Sometimes I was so tired that I wanted to quit. But every night, I studied for 1 more hour. The following year, I took the exam again. This time, I passed." I smiled. "That must have been an amazing feeling." He laughed. "It was. But the most important lesson wasn't passing the exam. The lesson was discovering that persistence is stronger than talent." His words immediately caught my attention. Persistence is stronger than talent. I repeated the sentence quietly. He noticed. "Write it down," he said. "You'll want to remember it." I opened my notebook and carefully wrote the sentence. Then I asked, "What helped you continue when things became difficult?" He smiled. I stopped asking whether I felt motivated. I simply asked whether today's work was finished. I thought about that answer for several seconds. Many times, I had waited until I felt motivated before studying. Perhaps that was the wrong question. Perhaps discipline really was more important than motivation. Mr. Wilson continued speaking. "Every evening after work, I studied for exactly 1 hour. Some days I learned a lot. Other days I learned very little. But I never broke my routine. 1 hour every day became hundreds of hours. Hundreds of hours changed my future." His story reminded me of my own English journey. Every podcast, every book, every new word, none of them seemed important by themselves, but together, they had slowly transformed my confidence. Before leaving, Mr. Wilson stood up and shook my hand. He smiled warmly. "Never stop being a student. Life always has another lesson to teach." "I won't," I answered. "I promise." After he left, I borrowed another book and walked home. That evening, I spent a long time thinking about our conversation. I realized something important. The library was full of books, but the greatest lesson that day had not come from a book. It had come from a conversation. Knowledge can be found in many places. Sometimes it comes from reading. Sometimes it comes from listening. Sometimes it comes from meeting people who have walked farther than we have. From that day forward, I visited the library every Saturday morning. It became part of my weekly routine. I read books about communication, leadership, history, science, psychology, and of course, English. Each visit taught me something new. Each book expanded my understanding of the world. After several months, Mrs. Green smiled and said, "You've become one of our most regular visitors." I laughed. "I think this library has become my second home." She replied, "That makes me very happy, because every person who enters this library leaves a little wiser." I believed she was right. Today, whenever someone asks me how to improve their English, I give them simple advice. Read every day, listen every day, speak every day, and never be afraid of making mistakes. Mistakes are proof that you are learning. Books can teach vocabulary. Podcasts can improve listening. Conversations can build confidence. Together, they create real progress. Before ending today's episode, I would like you to answer these questions in English. Do you enjoy reading books? Why or why not? What is the best book you have ever read? How often do you visit a library? What habit has improved your life the most? Take a few minutes to answer these questions. Remember, every answer helps you practice English. Thank you very much for listening to today's episode. I hope this story encourages you to discover the power of books, learning, and lifelong curiosity. Remember, a small library can open a very big world. One good book can change your thinking. One conversation can change your future. Keep reading, keep listening, keep speaking, keep learning, and never stop growing. I will see you in the next episode. Goodbye.